Thank you for joining me today at A Touch of Blue Studio with Drawing with Grandma. Today we are going to study in our sketchbook two animals, and we are going to start with a bear, and he's really cute. He's actually sitting up on his bottom, and he's huge. So I'm going to start with the round head and then try to build out this furry frame around his head that is full of fur. I think it's a grizzly bear or brown bear. And I want to get the head shape correct as I am building out that upper neck area. So I'm going to place the ears because that will help me with the other features. He's looking over to the left a little bit, so I need to find that center line. His eyes are a little smaller than like the lion and the tiger and the birds we've been doing. So I don't want to make those too big. And his nozzle is not as long as some of those animals. So it's really important to study the distance between the eyes and the, it looks like he's smiling a little bit too big, but it's important to study the features and the measurements between, the ears and the eyes and where the nose is. So I think I have the features placed correctly, but they may not be perfect, so I need to work on them as I develop the values and try to create some of the furry sections. His paw is sitting on one of his knees, so he's kind of squatting, and then the other paw is really huge. I mean, this guy is scary looking, but he's also kind of playful looking as well. So he's got his knees bent. This arm is resting on his knees, and he's mostly in shadow, but he's sitting there, and I want to draw attention to the light areas, which are the left part of the arms, and then to emphasize the thickness of his fur, and his neck is huge. So just adding a little bit of touches of shadow and a little bit of detail, framing those claws a little bit, and trying to give him the characteristics of a bear. A little bit of ground plane. So now I need to touch up this nozzle a little bit, the shape of his mouth and that chin that has a little bit of hair underneath, and shape up that head, fix the eyes. I think I'll have to erase out a little bit of the top of the head. I think it's just a little bit too big. Yeah, so that's just a fun little sketch to do. Maybe when you go to the zoo sometime, you can sit and draw the animals really quickly, because some of them just will stare back at you. This one is going to be an interesting one. I love all the birds that we've been doing. We're going to do a really close-up of one of our fierce birds. And so see if you can follow along in your sketchbook. See, I've made kind of a half dome moon shape and then found the center area where the top of his beak is going to be. I need to kind of make sure that that's big enough. I think I'm going to sketch in the beak, but I might have to adjust the shape. It really depends on the size of the eyes that I end up with, so I'm going to just sketch that in, and then I'm going to go to the eye placement in a moment, and then I can come back and fix this beak if I need to. So there's a lot of hair around the eye, and I want to be sure to place it correctly and not, make too many mistakes. There's a little bit more of a rounded shape to show the protruding beak coming out of his head. Okay, I think I've got him placed. I think the right eye is a little low, so I'm going to come back and fix that. Got to get the pupil and leave that glimmer in his eye just to kind of show the reflection of light. Then I'm going to deepen the values here. I've got to shape that beak, open beak area. So here, let's fix this pupil and get those sides symmetrical. Okay, a little bit of form. And then his feathery fur is dark around his eyes, and then it gets light right below his beak. So I want to kind of create that effect. I think I'm going to use these texture marks to kind of create the illusion that his hair is laying down, but the top of his head's pretty light, so I'm going to lighten that up and emphasize the darks that are under his eyes, and that might help to give him more realism. Okay, we're not going to do too much more, but I think this one would be a fun one for you to do in your sketchbook. Not too difficult, just follow along what I'm doing and you might be able to create this sketch pretty simply. It's got little few marks there we want to emphasize, little tone to the beak. His beak is kind of pointy, so I want to be sure to get that beautiful point at the end of his beak and maybe some of these exaggerated hair marks. And really emphasize those strong eyes. Keeping my marks going the same direction that his hair would lay really helps with that effect. Little opening to his beak, a few little final marks, and then we're done. Thank you for joining me today at A Touch of Blue Studio with Drawing with Grandma.